Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
We'll do this exercise every time I'm here. Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
Thank you. That's always better. We thank God for another opportunity to be here this morning to seek God's face, to fellowship, and to learn of His words. It's always a beautiful thing when Christians come together to learn about our Father and to fellowship with one another. Relationship in Christians, our duty in Christian, it's vertical and horizontal. The vertical component is how we worship our God. That's what we owe Him. But there's also the horizontal. That's why we need to fellowship together. If not, we could have stayed at home, logged in via Zoom, and we would have worshipped. But if we do that, we'll be missing the fellowship, where we strengthen one another, where we edify one another. So it's very important as Christians to find time to gather together. And since I'm talking about gathering together, I want to make an appeal before I go into today's sermon. Let's make effort to be here for the Bible class. I know we make the announcement, Bible class by 10, worship starts by 11. No, service starts by 10. Bible class is part of worship. It's part of our duty. And it's just 2 hours. 10 to 12, we are done. Since we know we are going to be here, let's make effort to be here for the Bible class. It's always beautiful. That's where we get to learn so many things. We are talking about some of the fundamental questions in Christianity. That's what we'll be talking about in the next couple of weeks. Why do we believe in God? Why do we believe in the Bible? Why are we a Christian? Why are you a member of the Lord's Church? So, questions like this. The theme for the year is Go Ye, Go Me. When we are confronted with these questions, we should be able to answer. And the Bible class is where we learn them. So it's an appeal to every one of us. Let's make effort to be part of these classes. Since you can come by 11, since you can come by 10:30, you can also come by 10. If it's the parking arrangement, you might have to park a bit far, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Let's make effort. Don't let's see the worship that I'm here for 11. No. Make aim for 10. Even if you come late, at least let it be in your mind that you are late. So that means if I'm here by 10:15, I won't be comfortable that, well, I didn't miss worship. No, you are missing an essential part of the worship. Please, that's my appeal. Then secondly, today, we'll be having the singles class again, the second version of it. It is a singles class. It is not a marriage preparatory class. So it's for singles of all kinds. For singles, we'll be talking about how to live as a single person. So you are invited. We'll meet here. Thank God the Spanish folks will be meeting later today. So after the potluck, we'll converge here and talk about the Spanish, about the singles class. Thank you. So having said those two, today we'll be talking about ourselves. Some months ago, I was there and the question of the sermon was, who is your father? So today, let's look at ourselves. There is indubitably, we know who our father is. That's what we spent the Bible class talking about. We talked about why believe in God. And there are so many wonderful reasons to believe in God. But today we'll be looking at who are you, looking at ourselves. I have a picture here. Is anybody familiar with this picture? I guess you know the second one. We are familiar with this picture. Do we know anything about it? Now, that first one, Salvatore Mundi, or something like that, is the most expensive picture ever that's been ever sold. It was sold for $450 million. That's ridiculous. The other one, Mona Lisa, it is priceless. It can't be sold. Because if they put it for sale, there is speculation on how much it will be worth. These pictures. But the two of them have something in common. They are painted by Leonardo da Vinci. And just because it is painted by Leonardo da Vinci, that's why it's worth that much. This Salvatore Mundi was lost for so many years. Suddenly someone brought it out from nowhere. And when they realized It was an artwork of Leonardo da Vinci. That's why it sold for 450 million. The next picture I have is a car. Many of us might not know the car. No problem. Bugatti Veyron. This is not the most expensive car, but it's one of the most expensive cars. And why it's expensive is because in the production, it was handmade. Other cars are product of assembly plants. You have a machine doing all that. But for this, each of Bugatti Veyron you see is custom made and hand assembled. So they have a team of engineers working on each Bugatti Veyron you see. The first one, it's very expensive because of the producer. Second one is very expensive because it was custom made. The last one, I believe we all know this. We all know this. Apple. In recent study, it's been estimated that Apple products, 30% of the value is what, the brand alone is worth 30% of the value. So if you're buying an iPhone for $1,000, $300 is the price of the brand. So that means if I take this Bible and I put Apple logo on it, I'm going to sell it more than I would have sold it without the Apple logo. Whatever you stick that Apple logo on, it's very marketable. So in these three instances, the first one is because of the producer. Second one is because it was custom made. And the last one is because of the brand. That should bring something to mind. There's no first Psalms. Psalm 139. I'll read verse 4, then I will skip down. Psalm 139. I would have loved to read the whole passage, but I'll start from verse 4. For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it all together. Now verse 5. You have hedged me behind and before, and laid your hands upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. ESV said, for you knitted me together. Verse 14, it reads, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest part of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your books they were all written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there was none of them. So the topic of today is, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Please say after me, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Today we want to remind ourselves of who we are, of what we are, of the value we have. We all struggle with this, sincerely. While I was preparing this lesson, I was there piecing ideas on how to bring it back to our mind, how to remind us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I tell you, as I was preparing it, I was struggling with a sense of inadequacy while preparing this. That's me putting on the lesson on how fearfully and wonderfully we are all made. And at the same time, I was struggling with this. God is our producer. We are not a product of assembly plant. We are custom made individually as we are. And as humans, every other human has two things that makes them special. The fact that they were made by God, just the same way an artwork by Da Vinci is very expensive. We are made by God, the best artist there is. And secondly, we are custom made. That is for all humans. But as Christians, we have the third advantage, that He has sealed us with the Holy Spirit. So we have that brand. For to those of us here, despite the fact that millions of people, billions of people out there, they are custom made, whatever form they come, whatever shape they come, they are custom made. individually, whatever shape they make. And they're also produced by the best designer. But we have one thing extra over every one of them. That's we have the seal of the Holy Spirit in us. So we are special people. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. If anybody sees it, you can read there. But if not, I'll read here. 2:9 reads, I think I have it. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praise of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Before you read almost every 2 chapters in the Bible, you see God saying, I love you. You see God saying, I care for you. You could see God saying, I'm concerned about you. Have you ever wondered, why don't we have just one Bible passage in the whole Bible where God will say, I love you, and that's enough? Why did he have to keep saying it over and over and over again? Because he knows we will forget. And despite that realization, we still struggle. It is important to remind Christians who we are, our worth, because when we don't know our worth, we won't be able to shine for him who called us into his marvelous light. Because when we don't know our worth, we will be easily intimidated. We will be easily swayed. When we are there and we are expected to talk about God, we will be afraid. Last week, Bram Allen was talking about how we can serve God regardless of what we want to do. But when we fail to realize our worth, we will be afraid to do what we think we should. I'll be there thinking that, okay, maybe I can help here, but I'm not good enough. Who am I to do this? And Satan will kind of remind us that, Ayo, come on, Ayo, you can't do this. This is beyond you. Let those who are better than you do that. And gradually we'll see ourselves seated. And this is how it plays. When there is something you know you should have done, and you fail to do it, you won't feel good in yourself. So because you feel, if you were here, you feel lower, and you will not get used to that, well, since I'm not good enough. And you get used to the concept that you are not good enough. But that's never be God's purpose for us. As humans, we struggle with constant reminder of who we are. And that's why this morning, let's talk about ourselves. You know why Christians, where we struggle? We struggle because we've been competing against the wrong model and the wrong standard. Presently, Lionel Messi, arguably, I still prefer Ronaldo anyways, Lionel Messi is regarded as the worst best footballer of all times. If you place him on the football field, he's a magician. But if you take that same Lionel Messi and you put him on the basketball court, it will be useless. Practically useless. If you take that Lionel Messi and you put him on the basketball court. Likewise, if you take the world's best basketball players, you put him in handball, or you put him in the baseball field, he will be useless. Likewise, as Christians, we feel inadequate because we've been competing against the wrong standard. We've been deceived. The world told us that to be successful, to be adequate, you must be beautiful, you must be rich, and you must be, I have 3 points. You must be beautiful, you must be rich. Why can't I say the third one? Yeah, and you must have position. You must be beautiful, you must be rich, and you must have position in the world. If you look around, when the world is talking about successful people, they look at people who are heads of different organizations, very beautiful people, or very rich people. And it is so askew a line of reasoning. For example, beauty. Beauty is one of those things that we shouldn't even brag about. Because you did nothing to be beautiful. You were born the way you are. If anybody should take credit for someone being beautiful, it should be your parents. Because if they had married someone else, you won't be here. If you are tall, it's because your parents choose to marry someone tall. If you are slim, it's also because of it. It's the genes that were passed to you. And now see how the world has so deceived humans. They set a standard that's impossible for us to determine. They've placed success out of our reach, out of something we don't determine, even riches. I was reading a book recently, Outliers, and the book is talking about, it did an analysis of the rich men we have in the world today. If you check all their story, at one point in their life, they were fortunate to be in a particular place that helped them. Not to say they were not intelligent, but the world of they had other people that were almost more intelligent, but then they never had that opportunity. But because of these standards, we look at ourselves and we feel, I'm not good enough. Look at him. He's better than me. He's more beautiful than me. Look at him. He's richer than me. Look at him. He has more position than me. But is that how God sees us? I have a list of pictures in my slide. I want us to look at the idea of beauty over the past generation. In the 50s, this was what beauty was. In the 60s, this was the idea of beauty. I want us to look at the progression of beauty. In the 70s, this was the idea of beauty. We moved from suits as humans to these ridiculous trousers. Then we moved to these other ridiculous trousers. At least this one of the 70s, I'm sure some of our elders here, they would have been guilty of this kind of pictures. Then we moved to 80s. No, we moved to 80s. Fashion changed again. And if you check both the haircuts and the clothing, you see how it's kept on changing. Then the 90s. This one, we are very familiar with it. Many people here can relate. Many people have pictures like this. Then finally, I'll stop at year 2000. I remember I used to have these jeans. And I know some of us that if you check your wardrobe, you had these jeans. This was progression of future. If you are taking the dressing of 2000, that was just a couple of years ago, and you wear it now, you look ridiculous. So now look at the futility of wanting to appear acceptable, beautiful by the world standard. You know why I chose to use a picture of men? Because in Satan, for the ladies, Satan just played a smart one. All Satan had to do was change the word beautiful to sexy. So there is no way I will have shown picture of beauty from 70s to now. I will show something inappropriate. In this present climb, the word beauty has been removed. For it to be socially acceptable, it must be sexy. It must. And now I said, as Christians, we are struggling to be successful with this standard. Is it possible? No, we can't be successful. We can't be successful by the world standard. We are meant to be successful by the standard of Him who has called us. Who has called us. By the time we keep competing with them, we realize that they will just always have the edge over us. Because they can do so many things that we can't do. Brethren, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Say that again. For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Regardless of how you see yourself, regardless of how you are fearfully and wonderfully made. None of us is a mistake. Nothing that's gone in our lives is a mistake. I was checking the history of how the beauty pageant started. It's funny that the beauty pageant we are celebrating today started as a promotion to sell bikinis. So when they launched a new product, bikinis, and they wanted to sell it to the world, so they gathered some ladies to model it. When they modeled it, the magazine captured it that this is Miss World. And since then, it became an annual practice, where a group of 10 men will decide for all of you that they know beauty. How many times have you seen the picture of the world's most beautiful lady, and you feel like, no, I know someone that's more beautiful than this? At least I know one. My wife is more beautiful than them. How many times have you seen the picture and you're like, no, this one is not beautiful? But the world has changed it. That for you to be beautiful, you must be sickly. You must have a waist that is like this, that can't even support your body. And everybody is now struggling that if I'm not this. I have a friend. She has a picture of what her ideal body should be. So she will look at that picture and she feels that, no, till I get there, that's when I'm beautiful. She has a picture of what her face should look like because she believes that, no, that is the idea of beauty. And it is not the same for every one of us. To see how fickle it is, we all have different idea of beauty. So how can 10 people decide for all humanity that they know the most beautiful person? And we believe them. The funny thing is not the fact that they did it, but it's the fact that we believe them. And because we believe them, this has given rise to so many sensitivities amongst us. I came from an era where in school then, if you are the fat one, we laugh at you. And there's nothing you do about it. We make jokes about some of these things that have become so sensitive that you can't even call these days. There are things we laugh about. It's just part of life. It is who you are. It is who you are. But these days, you call someone that, okay, growing up, words are opposite. I learned it in primary school. Tall, what's the opposite of tall? Yes, you can't say that. Fat, what's the opposite of fat? Slim. Light, dark, that's what we learned. But in this era now, if you want to describe someone that is not slender, how do you describe the person? We can't use the word fat again. You say, Ayo is not, I mean that guy that is not too slender. What is not too slender? We can't, because if you say fat, you annoy someone. I am young, thankfully. But anybody in their 60s, how do you describe them these days? Sorry? I'm not talking about the art, I'm talking about the body. How do you describe them these days? It is hard to say they are old. Because when you say old, you're like, wow, you're saying this guy is old. But is he not old? He's actually old. And it's a thing of respect. In my culture, if you are regarded as old, it's a thing of respect. Because we believe that for you to be older, that means you've seen things in life. And you can share wisdom. So when you are regarded as an old person, you have this respect that comes with it, and people come to you for wisdom. The only time you will not have that respect is when they come to you and you're not able to proffer wisdom unto them. But we have become very sensitive. That if we give a description of who Ayo is, Ayo will feel bad about it. That's because we are still competing against the wrong standard. Brethren, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. God created us. I want us to, I'm going back to that slide so that it stays on our mind. For we are fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, when we talk about how the world has influenced the way we see ourselves, we look at the young ones. We say the teenagers we are talking about, but we are not talking about teenagers. We are talking about everybody. Peer pressure is not teenagers' pressure. It is everybody's pressure. If you want to deny peer pressure, many of us drive Toyota cars. Why did you start driving Toyota? Why did you even buy the car you bought? Probably because you feel your neighbor is getting a new car. Maybe I should. It might not be so for you. But a couple of decisions we made in life, it's because we see people doing it. And in trying to emulate and keep up with the Joneses, we realize at times we struggle. And we are taking ourselves, and these people are dragging us out of where we should. Brethren, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are good enough. We don't need to meet the world standard for us to be good. Let's go to Galatians chapter 1, verse 10. In Galatians chapter 1, verse 10. For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I still please men, I will not be a bond servant to God. Because success has been termed as being socially acceptable. At times we see ourselves struggling to do even things we don't want, just to be socially acceptable. And the influence of the social media in our life is so great right now that someone will be having a bad day because a faceless person in Cambodia wrote a wrong comment about him. Someone that does not even know me, that I don't care about. And we'll see people struggling so that they will be socially acceptable. This generation has been the one that's suffering from this the most. Because success is directly proportional to the amount of likes you have. So when you take pictures and you want to post it on your Facebook, you will think of pictures that will generate more likes. And in the light of trying to think in that light, you see yourself doing some things that ordinarily you shouldn't have done, you wouldn't have done, if you are not conscious of getting societal approval. Brethren, we need to understand our self-value and understand our self-worth. Christ didn't call us to be like the world. He called us to be different from the world. He called us to stand unique and to remember our uniqueness. We can't be unique if we are like everybody else. We are meant to be the example, the model people will see when they go wrong. They remember that, oh, that guy is there. And this cuts across the way we talk, the way we dress, the way we carry ourselves, the way we live our lives. But it will be difficult for us to keep our head high as long as we still keep competing against this standard. So we'll move on. How do we accept some of these changes that we have? I started by saying we've been deceived greatly. The world out there, they will tell us that if you feel you are fat, I don't have any other words. I wouldn't have used it, but I have to use it. If you feel you are fat, hate yourself and look at where you want to be. If you don't hate where you are, you won't get to where you want to be. If you've been in a gymnasium where you are trying to lose weight or something, that's what the gym instructor will tell you. Or they will tell you that hate your present stage so that you achieve what you want to achieve. I tell you that is wisdom of man that is flipping the wisdom of God. If you hate where you are because of where you want to be, what if you don't get where you want to be? That means you spend your life hating yourself. You're never meant to hate yourself. You are who you are. It is when we realize that as I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's when I won't look at someone else and say, I want to be like him. We'll think choices, it's beautiful, that we love to have choices. But choices is not as liberating as we thought of. There was a day Ricky took 4 of us out. We went for lunch. He took myself, Ima, Ayo, and Ricky. 4 of us, 4 adults, 4 married men went for lunch. And we got there by 4 in the afternoon for the lunch. When we got there, the first ordeal we have to come across is, Ricky would have saved us, but it came that, where do you guys want to go? So that was the first challenge. Where do we want to go? Ayo wants to go here, Ima wants to go here, Ima wants to go here. We spent almost 30 minutes arguing on where, not arguing, let's go here. In my own case, I had no choice. I had no idea. Wherever they wanted to go, that was good enough. But the sad thing is all of us had no idea. So where do you want to go? I don't have anywhere in mind. Where do you want to go? We spent 30 minutes debating that. Eventually we said, okay, we are going to stay where we are. And we now went to the food marts. Lo and behold, they had Caribbean food, Arabian food, Greek food, Indian food, Persian. They had more than 13 stands of food. Guess how long it took us to order food? We took 2 hours before we came to a conclusion on what to eat. 2 good hours, I'm not exaggerating. 4, when we sat down to eat, we checked our watch, that we came here by 4 o'clock, and we are starting to eat by 6. Because we'll go to the Greek restaurant. What do you guys have? Imagine, having done like 13 options, you get to the Greek alone, they will have like 13 menus. So you have to decide, and I don't know all of them. We'll go to the Persian, like 13 we don't know. So we spent hours moving from one stand to the other. Likewise it is in life. If I have the option of changing my nose, changing my ear, changing my finger, changing my height, changing my size, I'll confuse everybody. Because if I come in today and I feel like being tall is the right thing, I'll come in tall. Next week, if I meet someone that is short and beautiful, I'll come in short. Upper week, if I feel fat is good, I'll come in fat. 2 weeks' time, I'll come in slim. If we have the option of changing, that's how we'll keep on changing. But God took away that option and made us the way we are. And it's left for us to accept it. The way we should accept ourselves in life is the way men. On this one, I'm going to give it to the men. The way men accept a stage in their lives. Let me expose one business secret. Anywhere you see a man, most men you see, I say this with good authority, 95% of the men you know that are on low court, like me, there is a reason behind it. There is a reason. 95% of us that you see that we're on this low court. You know why? You know why? Because we struggled at one point to grow hair, and the hair refused to grow. So we came to that acceptance that if you won't grow, I'm going to cut you really low. When I was in leaving high school, then in the 2000s, old school, having big hair was a fashionable thing. So then in school, we'll buy relaxer and we'll relax our hair. So when my friends were doing that, I felt that, okay, let me also give this a shot. I bought relaxer and I relaxed my hair. But something happened when I came out from the bathroom. I realized that this side was tall and this side of my hair was low. So the hair looked something like this. And that was awkward. I felt, what was happening? I added more relaxer so that it would grow out. But eventually, nothing happened. There was an holo somewhere on this side. I still remember vividly. There was a holo there. That's when it actually came to dawn on me that, Ayo, you're practically losing your hair. And this was around 16. So when I felt I was losing my hair, I didn't like it at first. But what can I do? Nothing. So I managed the few strands of hair for as long as possible. Brazilians, you understand this. When some people come to the barber shop and they have maybe 15 strands of hair here, or 25, that's not many. If you mistakenly cut that hair, you'll be in trouble. Because they are holding on to that hair, they know that once this one goes, that is the end of it. That's the end of it. They are holding on to it jealously as much as they could. But sadly, as much as you hold on to it, there will be a point when you won't have it again. And when you get to that stage where your hair will not grow, what do? Change to low cut, and you get to live your life. That's the approach to live with life. You look at yourself that, I wish I could be slim. But you're not slim. Then what do? Accept yourself. Before you can actually make genuine progress, you need to accept where you are. You need to accept where you are before you can make genuine progress. Because if your focus is always, when I become this, you are going to spend many years in your life struggling, waiting for that place. And you're not going to get to live. And it's going to be torment. Because there's still the other question that you might not even get it. Some of us, not all of us, we are products of the genes we inherited. So the bottom line is, whatever way you look at yourself, accept yourself. We might not struggle with this, but there are genuine Christians who are really struggling with the way they think God has made them. And people are struggling with the fact that they feel they've been short-handed in life. They feel they've been disadvantaged in life. You are not disadvantaged. You are not. God has a reason for making every one of us individually peculiar the way we are. When I see someone, I'm seeing the face. I'm not seeing the ears, I'm not seeing the nose, I'm not seeing the lips. My wife will want to describe someone, you say, Ayo, do you know that brother that has a big nose, has a big lips? I don't see things like that. When I see people, I'm seeing different faces. I don't know who has a bigger hair, who has a smaller hair. I don't see that. I just see people. And when we come to accept ourselves that way, life will be easier. I was talking with a brother and he brought in a perspective that I love. Maybe why we feel people look at us that way is because we also look at people that way. If I look at people and I'm already judging them that is not adequate, is not good enough, then I will expect that is how people are judging me as well. But brethren, if you don't remember anything in this sermon, remember Psalm 139 verse 14. For you are fearfully and wonderfully made. It seems like something very harmless. This self-doubt, this looking at myself that I'm not good enough. But it's one of Satan's most potent tools One of his most potent tools to get us not to do what we want to do. Recently, I was with Mike, Rodney, and who was with us? And Micah. We went to Hamilton to get some tools. We're bringing some things from Hamilton to Toronto here. So while we were getting there, we went with a full toolbox because we had to loosen so many things. We went with our spanner, with our pliers and all that. That was the day I came across one particular type of screwdriver. It's called Robertson. Robertson. It's made for Canada. It's made by Canadian products. So when you buy Canadian product, there's this screwdriver you need. It's called Robertson. You may never get to use Robertson for a long time. But the day you need that Robertson, if you don't have it, you can't do anything about it. That's how God made some of us. We are like a toolbox. Some are pliers, some are spanner, some are screwdrivers, some are wrench, some are hammer, some are different things. He chose not to make us the same thing all through because we have different purposes. And imagine how sad it would be on the day I need a Robertson, the Robertson is not there. So whatever you have, whatever you don't have, whatever shape you come, whatever shape you don't come, God never makes mistake. He made you intentionally to be who you are. And regardless of what you have or you don't have, there is heaven for us. So even if we feel uncomfortable with ourselves, wait till you get to heaven. When you get to heaven, ask God, why did you make me this way? Then maybe we'll get our answers. Now let's look at how to accept ourselves. I have 4 points I wrote here on how to accept ourselves. One is, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't exaggerate your importance. When I take myself too seriously, that is when I'm concerned about how people see me. I feel I am very important. We need a little sense of humor in this life. It simplifies things. For example, answer this question genuinely. Let's say you are a wife or you are a husband. Let me start with wife. Your husband is given opportunity to preach sermon for the first time in Strathmore. So automatically you will have worked together, you will have prepped together, and he's putting on his best clothes. Everything is arranged. But as he was climbing this staircase, he fell. Think of that. He was climbing this staircase, he fell. And everybody, whoo! At that moment as a wife, what comes to mind? Are you ashamed or are you genuinely concerned about your husband? Many of us will be ashamed. This man has embarrassed me. I am so embarrassed. The guy just broke his hand. And you're concerned about embarrassment. Because you are concerned about what will they say. Or as a man yourself, you are coming here, and when you got here, you slipped and you fell. Or you want to take water and you poured on your shirt. That's embarrassing. I am embarrassed. So because of that, I'll quickly run outside and go and hide, and I won't preach my sermon again. No, don't take yourself too important. Nobody takes us that seriously. We might think the world has the time to be studying Ayo. They want to see what Ayo is doing. No, nobody has that time. Nobody has that time. Everybody is busy facing their lives. So why don't you be busy and face your life as well and face the one that's going to judge us? So one, don't take yourself too important. Focus on living, not on meeting people's standard. Focus on the best you can do with your life, not being socially acceptable. Because the society will not even accept themselves. You can't get validation from invalids. The world is struggling for validation. They are struggling for acceptance. Then how do you want them to accept you? People that are struggling to accept themselves, you are basing your acceptance on them. Brethren, for we are fearfully and wonderfully made. For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And as much as I keep getting this in my head, it makes me go through life easier. The last point I have is the validation that matters most is God's validation. John chapter 12, verse 43. John 12, 43. It says, "For the love the praise of men more than the praise of God. Because we are eager to get 1,000 likes, and we are ignoring just that one like, we are trading it off. What we need in life primarily is just one primary like, and that is from God. That is the like from God on our Facebook page. That is the most important. In those instances where God's like and human like aligns, perfect. But if there is a contrast, the one that matters most is one that's going to reward us, and that is God. So, brethren, the appeal is, don't let us sacrifice our value, our integrity. Don't let us trade what is valuable to us because we want people to see us as we are good enough. We are good enough. We are good enough. We are made by the best designer. We are custom made, and we have a seal of God on us. If there is an implication of us looking at ourselves and feeling inadequate. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, there God told the children of Israel, go and take over Canaan. This was God telling them that go and take over Canaan. But the children of Israel look at themselves that no, we will need God. Those places are too big. We'll send spies. God told them, I'm telling you to go and take over. But since you said you want to go with spies, send spies. And they sent 12 spies. I want us to remember that they chose leaders of each tribe. So the 12 men they sent were people that know God. People that had seen God work. They would have been the faithful men in that era. But when they sent those 12 men, they saw Canaan. They saw how big, how wonderful the cities are. And they looked at themselves and they felt so inadequate. We know the end of the story. Because they ridiculed God who made them by looking at themselves very little, they were punished. So likewise, when we belittle ourselves, when we downplay ourselves, when we trample on ourselves, when we throw ourselves and we consistently say we are not good enough, thereby allowing Satan to do whatever he does with us, then we might get in problem with God. Say again, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God doesn't make mistakes. He makes us perfect. So if you are tall, glorify God in your tallness. If you are short, glorify God in your shortness. If you are fat, glorify God in your fatness. If you are slim, glorify God in your slimness. If you are old, thank God for gray hairs. If you are young, thank God for your youth. People will pay a lot to have that. Incidentally, I've been telling a couple of brethren, I've been struggling for more than 10 years to gain 10 pounds in my life. I've been on the same weight for more than 10 years. Struggle just to gain 5 pounds. And some people said even if they cough, they can gain 5 pounds. Just by breathing in air, they will gain 5. But here am I struggling with it. So what you think is a struggle is what some people need. Look at yourself and thank God. That is not to say there is no room for improvement. That's not everything I've been saying. What I've been saying is the improvements you make, you need to come from a place of gratitude for what you have. Don't go by the world standard, where the improvement comes from the place of disregard and hate for what you have. In conclusion, don't put yourself in anybody's cell. Don't put yourself in the world's cell. What if the world determines tomorrow that the new idea of beauty is a big toe? Or they decide tomorrow the idea of beauty is something ridiculous. Are we going to get surgery to increase our toe? We won't. If the world decides, you can see from the pictures, the way the beauty has changed. When some of our elders, they are still here, when they were wearing those big trousers then, they will feel so comfortable that this is the idea of beauty. But I dare them to wear it today. They won't wear it today because it keeps on changing. So why are we going to make something as fickle as that as our master? Why I felt the need for us to share this sermon is because I've met Christians. I've spoken with Christians. I've seen Christians who are not able to serve God because they feel they are inadequate. because they feel they are not good enough. But I tell you this morning, God is telling you this morning that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Say again, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Thank you, brethren. Oh, before I leave, if you are here with us and you are not part of the body of Christ, I started by saying God gave us 3 value systems. More than that, but we are talking about 3. The first one is the Creator. The second one is the fact that we are custom made. But I'm saying Christians have the third one, which is they have the seal of the Holy Spirit in them. They have the brand of God in them. They got that seal by giving their lives to Christ, by being baptized in the body of Christ. Last week, Wednesday, we were ecstatic. I wasn't here, but I saw the picture. I was lying down because I wasn't feeling too well on that Wednesday. But when I got the picture of the baptism, I practically jumped up from my bed because I was so happy about it. That's how happy we are. But heaven is even way more happier when a soul turns to Christ, because that's the purpose of Christ coming into this world. The question we asked in the morning, the debate has never been if there is a God. The debate is, are you willing to accept God? You are here because you believe there is a God. So now that you know there is a God, why are you not worshiping him the right way? Why are you not serving him the right way? He's going to judge, and he wants his children to come unto him. So it's an appeal. As the song is coming up, raise up your hands. Come to the front. Be baptized. Be added into the body of Christ. So that you have that custom-made design. So you'll be made by the greatest designer, and so that you have the brand of life. And that's where we can get to heaven and we'll know we'll spend eternity with him. So as the song is coming up, please come up. Please stand up. Please raise your hands, and we'll have you baptized. Somebody, please.
Brethren, may we rise as